G'day there, it's Dave here, Dave Mills, with problem number 4, or we're in our discussion about the DMT. And I cannot emphasize enough to you the importance of development and rapid development to get as much impulse or momentum as possible. And I just cannot emphasize that enough as a way of creating a strong position. Now, at the end of the day, I actually think the DMT shows why gambits work, and because you're actually sacrificing a pawn or two for development, for crushing impulse, and that obviously leads to momentum, which crushes their position. So it actually makes sense. It explains the hypermodern school, and it explains the technically refined school. There's tremendous memorization that goes on in the modern game of chess, and also studying of your opponent, knowing what they're going to play and preparing against this. In the age of the technician, it's about destroying, actually understanding your opponent and their strengths and weaknesses, breaking it down, just like a football game. A football team will study the players of their opposing team, study their tape, and that's what it's become now. Everything's at your fingertips. And so in the age of the technician, it's not just about being able to play your best chess from beginning to end. It's about and understanding everything there is to do about the positions, knowing what middle game themes, and knowing about what type of end game to expect. Knowing it from the book from cover to cover. And whereas in the Morphy age, in the age of the classical age, they didn't really know where the end was going to be. I mean, the age of Tal. I mean, Tal didn't know the end. He positioned so complex. Obviously the opponent just didn't find the defense. Anyway, so obviously I want to talk to you about force. I want to talk to you about how obviously there's no acceleration without some sort of force applied. What is force? What is force in chess? What do you think it is? Well, force in chess is it's very, very easy. It's very, very easy to think. Force in chess is the push and pull on the pieces. Right? That's it. It's the push and pull on the pieces. That's it. If somebody asks you how do you play with more force than your opponent? Well, you obviously need to be pushing or pulling more. Okay, and also obviously if you have superior development and tempo, you have obviously that can lead to superior momentum, not necessarily, but in this problem here, problem number 4, we can see that we can see our own position. Both kings are in the center, and obviously the dark square bishop could move, and the king could castle queenside and try to take advantage of that half open d file. And also white could advance the e pawn and develop and try and look to castle kingside. Although I think in this position here, I don't think white is going to necessarily want to castle to the queen side. Black's already got a bit of a move on there. Also, we see that white has a weak piece on the rooks in the corners. I always start off as quite loose and free and weak, and we actually see that so that rook is loose, whereas when you compare it to your rook on a8, your rook is defended. And also when we look at development count, it's equal. The bishop's developed, the knight's developed, from the minor pieces, but the queen has moved out early. Okay, And we want to look at the 5 ring. We want to look at, think about it. The queen is misaligned. Why is it misaligned? It's to the king. It's lined up with the king. That is a misalignment. And also we've got a rook lined up against the rook on a1. So the loose rook, the semi-loose rook on a8 versus the rook on, and it's about tempo, right? And it's about accelerating your position. So at this stage here, you're still in the development phase. You're still in, part of the easy way to think about it is development. Think is the opening phase, and you want to think middle game as the momentum phase. Okay, but so black wants to develop the dark square bishop and castle. All right, wants to get out of the center as fast as possible. White's obviously got that advanced e pawn, but has sacrificed tempo for it, and is also to prevent doubling up the pawns, has misaligned the queen. So this is a common theme as well. Where can we put the bishop with the most acceleration? Well, obviously bishop to e7 is zero acceleration, but it does increase the activity of the bishop. Bishop c5 is a beautiful diagonal. That's definitely attacking the weak f pawn, but the bishop c5, it's not much of a threat, but it does develop the piece to a decent diagonal. Bishop to d6, obviously pawn will just lop it off, so that's just a disaster. So obviously you need to be looking at this misalignment here between the king and the queen, and I believe this is why pawn to a5 was played. And what White, I believe in this position, White has countered with a pawn move. Excessive pawn moves will get you every time. So the pawn on a3 doesn't actually, it may defend the queen, but there's 2 minor centers of gravity. There's the loose rook and there's the misaligned pieces, right? And then the major center of gravity is obviously the king. So bishop to b4, I mean, if you understand the theory, if you understand that you want to get the maximum activity for your pieces, because that gives the piece its maximum momentum, okay? And you want to accelerate, in other words, threats, checks, and captures. Bishop to b4 just suggests itself. And the thing is, what the double attack is just a result of you accelerating the most, and to obviously, get the most momentum for your piece, and you're going to accelerate the most against centers of gravity in the center or at the king or the back rank. You can accelerate the most. So bishop to b4, it is the logical place to place that bishop. Now, I mean, a chess player of some years of experience will see it just from a simple pattern recognition, because this idea of opening up the edge files by sacrificing a piece on the edge it's a common theme. It's used to attack the king. But in this case here, you've got 2 weaknesses. Okay, you got the 2 centers of gravity, the misaligned queen and the rook, and you've also got the fact is that you need as much developmental impulse as possible, as fast as possible, and we can see acceleration as its speed plus direction. So the bishop's doing it in acceleration type 1, and which is a threat, checks and captures. The bishop's threatening the queen. Queen can't move because of the pin to the king. The queen's quite retarded there. And I don't mean it in the sense of handicapped, I mean in the sense retardation as in it's decelerated quite a lot, which is a form of acceleration. So it's acceleration type 2. So bishop to b4. So the pawn at a3, it doesn't actually, the thing is, people think that they're defending by advancing their pawns. But actually all it's doing is creating a hook. It's creating a point of difference. Okay, because there's no takebacks for pawns. They can't go backwards. It gives the opponent something to... So instead of retarding the bishop, you've actually helped accelerate it, because now you're able to connect the rook on a8 with the rook on a1. So bishop b4, pawn takes b4, pawn takes b4. So now there's a black pawn just now. It's important to use your visualization in these videos. So just imagine that the rook and the rook on a1, there's no pawns on that file, and there's a black pawn attacking the queen. So in this case, the queen is under threat by a pawn. Now it doesn't matter that the pawn is literally doing an incredible job. The pawn is threatening the queen. It's the exact opposite in value. So that is what's called a value matchup, and we'll talk about that in another video. So that is you want to have little guys picking on big guys. That's what you really want. So that's created the situation of the double attack by just playing for maximum momentum and impulse and acceleration, right? Playing to accelerate. And so the pawn's attacking the queen and the rook's attacking the loose rook, and there's no way for the queen to defend the rook, because white has obviously played the queen out too early, hasn't considered its development. There's a problem with development here. And so in this position here, obviously the queen takes the pawn, and then that also retards the king. It decelerates the king, retardation there, and then obviously rook takes at a1, and now the bishop's under attack. The dark square bishop's under attack, and so the rook did it, got to the end zone, but also accelerated. So the queen is probably going to play back to c3 to guard the bishop, and so there's probably going to be a discovered attack with the battery of the queen and the pawn going in a negative direction, going the forces are negative, going back against itself, and so the rook might have to retreat, but it'll retreat having gained the value of 5. Okay, and plus it has the open A file to look forward to. So it's actually quite devastating. It's actually resignable. It's actually black is just clearly winning. And now the blacks, once you take care of your rook, the king can castle at his leisure. Now, once you take care of you may actually not want to take care of your rook. You may just want a castle, all right? And obviously that actually you have to be very, very careful. But at this stage here, you might also even want to play bishop takes knight, and the reason is because exchanges favor you now that you're up so much material. So what is force? Force is the push and pull of the pieces. Now, and my question to you is, if a piece is, isn't threatening, and if a piece is stationary, right, is it actually, is there any force acting on it of its own? Like take the rook in this position at h1. Is it, it's stationary, it's not moving. Does it have any force acting on it? Alright? Remember, it's the push and pull of the pieces. A piece does not defend where they stand. It's very important. That's why, you need to look at these loose pieces, misaligned pieces, and you need to connect your momentum to that. Alright, well, thank you very much. We're going to talk about how different forces, the different push and pull of pieces. Obviously, there's situations where then there's more pieces matching up and numbers match up, and there's also matchups where the value of the pieces are not matched up. So obviously in this case. So there you have it. Take care. I look forward to discussing this the DMT more with you. All right, bye.